It's very strange to be starting an event seeing so many of your wrestlers still out here, guys. Doors are open. Get to the back, okay?
No.
Seriously, everybody, hello. Thank you very much for coming out tonight for this, the inaugural SPW Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Good to see some of you have found those noisemakers on your tablets. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is David Dunn, and over the past 10 years I've had the honour of being the host or the MC for a large majority of SPW's events, many of which have been held here at the Invercargill Workingmen's Club. And I have a feeling that tonight may be one of the best, because tonight is not about the wrestling, as much as we all like the wrestling, but it is about the people behind the wrestling characters, their connections that they have made with all of us here in this building, and their contributions to Southern Pro Wrestling, which have allowed us to be industry leaders here in New Zealand for the past 10 years. Now, folks, yeah.
Yes, David! David! David Dunn! David Dunn! David fucking Dunn! David fucking Dunn!
Folks, with that said, we're going to start tonight by introducing a man who could very well find himself up here on this stage to be inducted into the Hall of Fame in his own right. He is a former SPW Tag Team Champion. He is a former SPW New Zealand Heavyweight Champion. He is straight out of Centre Street. Please put your hands together for Mr. Will Power.
I'll do a cartwheel, but we know it'll split my pants, so... Righto. Hold on, you have to listen to my music a bit longer.
Do the cartwheel! Do the cartwheel! Shut up, man!
Hey, we got it. How we going, ladies and gentlemen? I was just saying to him before, it's a weird feeling when you jump out in the ring in your undies with not much else on and you don't blink an eye. Stand up here in a nice beautiful suit in front of you beautiful lot. Holy fucking my shit myself. Oh, first off, I just wanted to say thank you to SPW and everyone for putting this amazing event on. This is beautiful. It's been 10 years, and to do something really cool like this is pretty cool. And the Hall of Fame is a special kind of recognition that's 100% deserved for the two people going in today. It is a privilege for me to induct Simon into the Hall of Fame, as our wrestling journeys have crossed paths quite many times. There we go, screwed up the first one. Our journeys are intertwined from the start. And it goes all the way back to 2015, after SPW's first show. An invite was put out to try out to be a wrestler. I forget the date, I'm sure Kairau probably knows, but 7 of us showed up at the old train tracks storage area, and I thought, wow, this is an odd place to have a tryout. But in classic SPW fashion, we were actually there to pick up the ring, drive 20 minutes down the road, and spend the next 4 hours putting the thing up. Now, we have no idea about the inner wrestling. Oh, I've already skipped the first line. When you have no idea about the inner workings of wrestling, you do go into the interpretation, oh wow, this will only take, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes to set up a ring. Oh no, the 4 hours that I've already ruined that line on. And a call to Charlie Robs to say, how on earth do we do that? Hope you remember that, Mark. Because the guys had no idea how to set the ring up. So anyway, 7 of us hopefuls had signed up. I remember having to answer them thinking, oh yeah, okay. The issue with that was that no one was really hadn't really done anything physical. They hadn't really played any sport or anything. They were just like big super fans of wrestling. And I went, fucking hell, what have I got myself to do here? But then, one man walked in. He had arms bigger than the size of my legs. That man was Simon. Oh, yeah. So I went over it, introduced myself, I mean, oh, this guy, he already looks like a wrestler. This is my guy. So I said, hey, I'm Will, nice to meet you. And he goes, yeah, I'm Simon. Oh yeah, cool. And he goes, I've been up to 3 AM in the morning, I'm actually pretty hungover. And I was like, oh, sweet. Good start, I thought. Anyway, the tryout went stereotypically as most do. We all sucked, quite badly. Well, it felt like another 4 hours of Troy trying to show us how to do forward and backward rolls. Simon would just go in there and nail it straight off the get-go. I'm pretty sure, Mark might have to correct me on this, but every time he had one guy at it, yeah, you're good mate, carry on. The rest of us, another 10, 20 times for forward rolls. When it came time for bumping, unlike the rest of us, he wasn't allergic to the mat. He aced it. Knowing what I know now, 100% there would have been a Voxer chat between Mark and Troy afterwards. What a bunch of straws. Except that Simon fella, he's going to go good. We can do something with him. Wrestling training didn't really start for another month or 2 after that. This time the ring setup was just a wee bit smoother, only the issue being there was only 4 of us that showed up. And then after a few sessions, it was just the 2 of us. We had many sessions, just me, Simon and Troy, working at the old Blues Rugby Club, I believe it was. And we had the ring set up there. And that was until the next intake, which was just before SPW's next show, Fight for Gold. Big Rig was supposed to be on that show, but for some reason he couldn't rest on the show. Something about looking face first into Mark's penalty kick, and he was done for a while after that. Apparently that's not a good idea. So a spot had opened up. They tossed and churned, and on 3 days' notice, they ultimately went with Simon. And I was stoked for him, mainly because he only had 3 days to get ready. But I was genuinely stoked for him. So anyway, Fight for Gold came, and the place went nuts. They had the late, great Ozzy Osbourne's Iron Man playing through the speakers. Simon was no more, he was the Hammer. Hammer made his debut by defeating Jake Sheehan in a match the fans thoroughly enjoyed to watch. Fortunately for me though, it was decided I would come out and interfere after the match with one of my many promos to come. It should have been me! And then rightfully so, he choke bombed me in the middle of the ring, which would set up my debut for the next show. Could have done kick but I would have forgot the whole thing, wouldn't I? Hammer would end up being my first match, which was perfect for me because we'd spent so much time training together. We knew each other in and out. I still had no idea what I was actually up to, but I was encouraged just to talk some shit. Take the bumps and tuck my chin. This ended up being one of many matches we had, with a total match count of Willpower got 1 victory, and Hammer got 50 fucking something, I don't know. That went on for a while. Hammer would go on to have some bigger and better matches against some of New Zealand's best. There are a couple that stand out most to me, and I'm going to go on about them right now. He did face the T-Rex in a big man versus big man matchup, which was one of the loudest crowd reactions I had heard at the time. It was wild to see how much the crowd took into Hammer with a short amount of experience in the ring. It was pretty cool for us to watch. To the point I actually think he was the most popular wrestler in the company. So that was pretty cool to see. I don't know if you knew, but Hammer beat Mark in 48 seconds. I would like to stand here and go on about that match and how much we all thoroughly enjoyed it, but Mark actually spent up to he's probably still talking about it now, but at least 2 years telling us 48 seconds! 48 seconds! So if you don't know, feel free to hit him up afterwards. Hammer got a rematch against T-Rex, leading to one of the all-time greatest promo lines ever. You should have retired! This would set up one of the greatest matches in New Zealand pro wrestling history, because it ended up being the shortest match to ever play on TVNZ on demand. Good editing, that was bloody good to see. And then, what was the next chapter? Yes, SPW had introduced tag team championships, which was great because the Sins were off to the UK and DTF had just parted ways, so they said, oh, why don't we ask Simon and Will to be a tag team? Which we were like, yep, this would be great. So we hadn't put a lot of thought into it at all. Simple logic, I get beat up, Hammer does the 5 moves of doom, spear, frog splash, finish. Done. Simple. We were SPW Tag Team Champions. The only problem with the tag team was we hadn't put a lot of thought into it at all, including having a name. A Facebook post went up and the rest was history. We were the Power Tools. Whether we wanted it or not, we were the Power Tools. How good. Thanks, Mark. We went on to have many and many matches as the Power Tools. We faced the likes of Control. Then we faced Control. And then we faced Control again. I'm pretty sure there was even a 5-on-2 in there against Control. And there was at least 2 or 3 different versions of detention, I really can't remember. We even decided to change the finish where I did the spear for once, and the big man, he got up on that top rope and he did that frog splash. Woo! We were so creative, we were so ahead of our times back then. We were unstoppable. We were the kings of the tag team mountain. Until outside commitments for Hammer meant he wouldn't be available to be in the team anymore and he had to step away. So after beating Control one more time, the Power Tools had clocked the tag team division and we were finishing off at the top. Hammer was replaced by the Human Love Machine and we were rightfully dropped out of the house so fast no one even remembers. You would never believe it either. It was to Control. Well done, lads, you got one. Hammer went on to make more appearances where he could and always make time for the Rumble. My favourite match. And I think I can speak for everyone in this room that would be their favourite Hammer match too, was when he wrestled Richie, aka Professor Palmer. Shout out to the man who couldn't make it tonight. Oh yes, I will do a bunch of moves, I'll hit the rock bottom, maybe not care when you kick me out and give me one scoop slam, blah blah blah. Richie had planned out a 10-minute masterpiece for the match, which Hammer simply replies, nah, how can I just spear you once and I just pin you? Really should have done cue cards, think about this. Richie pleads with him, oh please, can we do more? Hammer said, yeah, sure, no worries. Hammer then proceeded to spear Richie 3 times and then pin him. Hands down, my favourite match at the Rumble to watch. Well, you never know what's around the corner, but fate would have us team up once more not long ago, the last show. And what felt like a match where all I could hear was T-Rex using his famous words on me, you should have stayed retired. We got through another match. What's funny about that match is there was a part of the match where we both looked at each other in the eyes. I knew what you were thinking, I knew what I was thinking. Obviously it was, we should have just done, beat me up, 5 moves to do, frog splash, finish, go home. That would have been a lot easier instead of what happened. After the match, we didn't say a hell of a lot, but we sat there, Hammer simply said, you take the heat next time. Yeah, good thinking, mate. But we really can't leave it like that. Hopefully we've got a couple more left in us. Fuck, maybe another crack at the bouts and shit, maybe even we come a new name. I don't know about you. Simon, whether you know or not, you are part of the foundations of SPW. If you weren't part of that first group on those days and stuck at it with me, I don't even know if I would have stuck around, mate, to be truthfully honest. So I owe a lot to you as well. You were the first to debut from the SPW Academy and you showed us how it all can be done. You've always had the crowd and they've always wanted to see you. As the years go by, it doesn't matter, mate. Invercargill still wants to see Hammer wrestle. Just like I want to see you spear Richie one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please stand up and congratulate Simon as we introduce him into the first class of the Hall of Fame.
Just watching my video there. Stand there for a while. I'm going to need to stand.
Please consider it cool, I suppose. Yeah, I'll put it up for you, mate.
Thanks, buddy. A tēnā tātou katoa, a tēnā kātou, ko huhi mai nei I tēnei wā. I tēnei he whakanui taka I o tātou, no celebration, no Hall of Fame. SPW, te whakanui taka I o tātou, no whānau nui, no reira, tēnā koutou, a tēnā koutou, a kia ora tātou katoa. Hopefully you can hear me from here. Is that all good? Everybody can hear me? Wow, I actually didn't know Will was going to induct me, so pretty much a lot of the stuff Will spoke about was the stuff that I had in mind. So I'm gonna just change it up a little bit. But there was a brother, it was so awesome. I was just sitting there cracking up and going, "That's right, that's right, that's right." And it's it's a real honour. It really is to be up here. It's to accept this type of award. There's a sense there that, yeah, this is awesome to have the recognition, but probably more importantly, this is a recognition of what everybody in here has built, the legacy of SPW, where it's been, where it come from, those foundations, and where it's going to go in the future. So I'm probably going to change my speech up quite a bit now, brother, because you covered it off, and there's no way I can tell those stories like you do. All right? Yeah, I'm going to go back to talking about pretty much like every wrestler here, or everybody here really, being captivated as a child watching the wrestling. So, as you guys know, I'm pretty much 99% of the room here is significantly older than you guys. So I was watching the wrestling in the 80s when there was Mr. Wonderful, The Rock, Don Morocco, massive guys, huge guys, eh? And those were the guys that really captivated me, the Road Warriors, seeing these larger than life people and just going, my God, it really sparks. And I know that everybody in this room, it would have sparked that in you as well. It just really does. And a funny story, I was just thinking about this the other day too, how wrestling mad I was as a child. My kids don't even know this, my wife doesn't know this, I've never told them this story. When I was at Tweedsmuir Intermediate, I got into a legit fight, actual fight. Got the guy down and I done the figure 4 leg lock on him. A legit figure 4 leg lock. And then another time, I got sent home for doing a DDT. Yeah. So, that was all I had for the wrestling. Now, if I move forward a little bit, I'll probably go back about 12 years ago. It might have been about 12, 13 years ago. I remember reading in the, I don't know if it was the Southland Times or the Southland Express, there was an article about this guy who had just gone over to Canada, to the Lance Storm Academy, to go and train over there. And it was all about Troy. And it also mentioned Mark in there, that there was a guy who done wrestling that was in Queenstown as well. It was just a bit of a write-up about how Troy went over there, trained, and come back, and what his aspirations were for the future. And it was sort of that moment there. I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the internet and just have a look at IPW, all those other things, and thinking, imagining, if we had something here, wouldn't that just be so shit hot? And then we fast forward, in this exact room, so we're celebrating our huge milestones in this room, but this room here is where the genesis started for SPW, seeing that first show, seeing Mark versus Troy, seen Travis Banks, wrestling. You had Johnny Idol, all those guys like that. That's when I brought my wife and my 2 kids. We said, we're going to the wrestling. They said, well, look at this. And again, you know, and then there was, they were talking about this sign up, and sitting there thinking, oh, I'm getting on a bit, you know, I'm getting on a bit, but you know, you just got to think, stuff it, and just and do these things, and you know, you go back to being that inner child, and go, hey, here's opportunity, eh? And if opportunity's in front of you, take it. You know, for all the good things that somebody might do in life, you're never going to have regrets. The only regret is that you didn't do it, or you didn't try it, all those things like that. And yeah, so I was walking out and I was humming and hurrying whether to sign up, and then it was Henry. He goes, bro, you should be a wrestler. I was like, cheer, bro. And yeah, and then signed up. So we all sort of covered off those pieces around what our induction day was like, and yeah, absolutely, it was like, what the hell? We're going to pick up this ring, take it out to Otatara, set this ring up, and I'm going, oh, hey, this must be, you know, this is just how it rolls. And you find out Marc's ringing up the guy who got the ring off, asking how to put the ring up, and all of a sudden, oh, you know, good as. But yeah, for me, reflecting now on the whole time, it's, and even hearing you talk about it, Will, is how lucky we really were back in those early days. So what I mean by that is, yeah, it only ended up being me and Will. So me and Will, we had Troy Crosby and Marc Perry, and we also had Ray on the side, always critiquing us there, just to ourselves, for about 4 or 5 months. So you know, when you look at it like that, we got a pretty shit hot, eh? We got a really lucky in those early days, and that probably gets me thinking about things like SPW. I think we were really brought up on steak. So what I mean by that is, and this is an acknowledgement to the both co-founders, you, Marc, and also Troy. You know, your pedigree, wrestling since you were 16 years old over in the UK, all that training, Troy going over to the Landstorm Academy and bringing that back. And there's me and Will, probably not knowing how good we had it really until later on. And that, and there's no doubt that SPW, through Marc and Troy, really set a platform and a foundation for where they wanted to take this academy, this company, the whole thing. You know, and that's really reflective in the product that's produced. Now they used to do things like, we had to write essays about what our characters were. Talk about the characters. Remember that exercise there? You know, I was like, oh, what the hell? I thought, all right, here we go. You know, it was doing all those things and that. But you know, when you really look back at that, those are fundamentals for you to be able to find yourself and really understand your own character. So when you're coming out, you can really bring that stuff with you. And I think a standard really got set in those early days as well. It was always about bring your best self, be the best person you can be, whether that was you know, in your physical appearance, your character base, all that type of stuff like that. But yeah, for me, in one way, yeah, it come with 3 days notice. And I was like, holy crap. So I had 3 days to, yeah, figure out a name for starters, get some wrestling gear and some ring music as well. We had nothing, so thanks to my wife Kerry, you helped me sort that stuff out. And you know, it was that magic moment then. Me as Simon, you've been nervous as shit, thinking, oh, I'm just going to absolutely stuff this up. You know, I've done all this training, but I'm still going to stuff this up. But then coming out for the first time, you know, really solidified something and just brought that child back. And I think that point there was was the real testament that, you know, here's the point here, where Hammer's arrived and I'm putting the New Zealand wrestling scene on notice. And I really, yeah, I take that to, yeah, all the foundational stuff that was put in place. And yeah, it's just been an absolute great gig from there on. I'll just look at my notes now, eh? Yeah, and I just want to reflect on this whole thing as well. Like, there was the flagship shows, there was the infamous fight nights, which were holy shit. Some of those were so awesome. In that shed, 200 people, 250 people, or whatever. Everybody bring their own drinks. Man, what a crowd to feed off. And then the famous Queenstown crowds. And with that as well, that's probably another aspect of not really appreciating and really understanding how much work was put into the background. So you, fight night is next week. Oh yeah, cool. Who's going to be fighting? Oh, Will Osprey. Oh, cool. You know, holy shit. And you know, there was a number of other wrestlers that would come as well. There was was it Jimmy Havoc? Was it? Yeah. Well, holy shit. Probably my biggest memory of that fight there was Will's mum. That poor lady, she was horrified and absolutely terrified. I was watching her face more than the show, to be honest, thinking, oh, you poor woman. But you know, having a company that brings in those type of wrestlers, training, getting taught how to do a hurricanrana from Will Osprey. Far out. You know, those are the awesome things there. So I'm just going to go through some acknowledgements now while I look at my notes. Yeah, again, I think firstly it's Mark and Troy. You know, welcome to the house that you guys built, wrestling on the edge of the world, brother. So let's have a round of applause for that. Eh? Every wrestler in this room, but I want to make special mention to Kane and Josh, you know, yous boys, coming in and picking up the mantle as well. When you two guys joined, it was like, holy shit, these two guys are going to go balls to the wall, just mad as mustard. But I mean, look at the places that you guys have been. We have wrestled, and you know, coming back and sharing that with everybody here. So that's absolutely fantastic. I want to acknowledge the crew and everybody involved there. I think sometimes, yeah, wrestlers, we can get hurt when we come out and we get all the glory. But it's everybody else. It's the crew. It's everybody who does the things like the t-shirt, to the security, all that behind planning to make all this magic happen. And probably to my fellow Hall of Famer, Tyler. You're the man who makes this, who makes us look like magic. You know, you're the one. Your product is there for all time, and you're the one who you're the caretaker of that. So I really want to acknowledge that, because I know that I've had some terrible matches. I've had some absolute shockers. You know, but you've made SPW an absolute brilliant product out there. So professional there, mate. Acknowledge my family as well. Yeah. My wife Kerry always puts up with this guy, whether I'm going away for work, years of being on call, whether I'm a musician, and then lo and behold, now he's a wrestler. You've always been there to support me, so love you heaps. To my two children, Maya and Andre, you know, it's been awesome to be able to have you guys experience this type of thing with me. And personally, you know, it's a real sense of pride to be able to say, I'm Hammer. And for them to say, I'm Hammer. The example is, you know, over the years, and that sort of schoolyard banter type thing. Yeah, my dad's tougher than your dad thing. Yeah, well, that conversation ended real quick when somebody says, well, my dad's hammer. You know, but it's just given me another opportunity to be able to, you know, make you proud and do another thing that really shows my love to everything. So, yeah. Thanks, guys. And if I just chuck a wee Easter egg in my speech as well, you know, you could be the first second generation SPW wrestlers. We can start a bloodline of our own. Yeah. I know we don't have fans here, but you know, they're the ones that really make it. You know, you're as strong as your fans are, and that's what it's about. But I mean, that comes back to the product, the foundations, everything that everybody's contributed within this room. Yeah, but the fans just keep on coming back and back and back. We were just talking earlier on tonight around how momentum has just never stopped. I know you guys do the real hard work there, but the acknowledgement to our fans, they just absolutely love the product that's been put out there. So I suppose just finally, I just want to, again, acknowledge, absolutely love having this Hall of Fame, and I'm so grateful for it, because to be honest, well, we might have a couple more on us, but yeah, it's probably not a lot more than that, to be honest, brother. That too, so yeah, I think it's it's absolutely fantastic. But again, it's an acknowledgement to the house that everybody here has built. And just on that, I'm closing. It's fantastic to be the first SPW wrestler inducted into the Hall of Fame. And this, kind of got me now. I lost my momentum. But so hopefully I've covered off and told you a bit about my story and my journey, and you know, those true acknowledgements and that. I'm just so super proud to be the first person inducted into the Hall of Fame, and this does create a legacy for SPW, and yeah, I'm just so rapt to have my name on page 1. Thank you very much.
Folks, Invercargill is undoubtedly the home of SPW, specifically the Invercargill Workingmen's Club. But our second event was held live in Queenstown. Myself and Paul Sayers were to be the commentary team for the show held at the Queenstown Ice Arena. And we were set up in a commentary booth that was meant to be the penalty box for the ice hockey. It was very exciting. We settled ourselves in there. But as showtime approached, we realised we had a problem. We were a commentary team with no microphones. And without a microphone, you can't hear anything without a microphone. So we didn't want to bother Marc too much because he was running the show and he was fairly busy, but this did seem like somewhat of an issue for us, so maybe 30 minutes before showtime. Excuse me, Marc, do we have microphones? Now, if you're a wrestler, I'm sure you're aware of the adage, always bring your gear when you come to a show. And the same thing holds true if you're someone who works in the production side of things. So Tyler King, who had travelled to Queenstown to observe the event rather than be part of it, was called on to save the day. I have a microphone, he said, and thankfully Paul and I could continue our night and things could run smoothly from there. I'm sure many of you may have noticed earlier today our 5-minute warning for the start of the event took a little bit longer than that to get going, as we had Tyler make some checks of the cameras tonight. He's truly become one of the MVPs of the SPW experience, and now a man who is very well placed to speak to the value that Tyler has brought to us here at SPW. Please put your hands together and welcome the Hooligan, Marcus Cool. Very... just waiting for it.
Very similar to what Willpower said earlier, Will. I'm very used to coming up here in front of 300, 400, 500, 600 people and pretending to be a real fighter. But standing up in front of all you guys as myself is really challenging and really daunting. It's actually not often I speak as my real self. I'm always, hiding behind this crazy hooligan character, and in a weird way, that's always made me feel. You fucking interrupted me already. Not ready yet. Gotta put myself over some more. That was genuinely a fuck up, to be honest. That's really spoiled the entrance for Tyler King. Shit. So I'll just get to the speech. Look, there's a lot of people in this room tonight, past and present, who aren't here tonight, that have put their heart and soul and everything into making SPW what it is. But I can stand here and say with complete confidence that without the next man coming up, we probably wouldn't be celebrating 10 years of SPW, and we definitely wouldn't be holding our very first Hall of Fame here tonight. I was expecting a clap there. Do I need to fucking put that in, the thing? Fucking tough crowd. It's like trying to work Balclutha. David mentioned this in his opening here, but Tyler's first kind of official event for us was back in 2015 at the Queenstown Ice Arena. That also marked my personal debut on Botchamania. So that was definitely a sign of things to come with myself and Tyler King. Thanks for that, mate. Great edit. Appreciate it. In one of our early conversations, I asked Tyler what his goal was, being involved with SPW and what he wanted to achieve. Because it definitely wasn't the payday. None of us get the payday here. But Tyler's response was, Tyler's goal was to get New Zealand professional wrestling onto mainstream television again. That was his goal. In 2018, after only 3 years working together on with SPW, SPW made its debut on TVNZ with a 3-part documentary series, Wrestling on the Edge of the World, followed by the Southern Rumble, fully edited, produced and brought to life by Tyler King. Who fucking brought those in here? I can't bury Lisa. I can't bury Lisa. Fucking rotten. Fucking Straub. What you doing? I've learned a lot from Tyler over the years, both professionally and personally. His skill set and knowledge, not only behind but in front of the camera, have made me a better performer. It's not hard, but he did. His creativity and his storytelling has made for some of the biggest moments in SPW history. Although he does have a few flaws. His favourite wrestler is Kane. Not K9, the big red machine. Kane. Which always confused me over the years. Great mayor, great politician, we won't go into that. Tyler has worn many hats over the years: video editor, producer, creative, ring announcer, commentator, but he does have one talent that could have had the biggest impact, that could have really put SPW on the map, and this might surprise you a little bit, but Tyler King could have been, arguably, the best in-ring performer of our generation. And one time, we got a very slight tease of what that could have looked like. And I've done some digging, and I've got that footage for you guys here today. Do we want to see it again, or are we good? One more time. The footwork was unbelievable. Look, Tyler's long hours and legitimate sleepless nights will never quite be understood. In post-production, he would spend hours covering up mistakes and botches so it looked good for the rest of the world to see, and that was just getting through mine, to be fair. Because of Tyler's work in 2018 and 2019, SPW became one of the most talked about independent promotions in the world, and I'm legitimate when I say that. His documentaries were a huge reason Will Ospreay wanted to come and work with us. One of my all-time favourite pieces that Tyler put together that was mentioned earlier was Willpower v Jimmy Havoc at Fight Nights. For those that were there, man, what a fucking night that was. That was insane. Tyler captured the chaos, the emotion and the magic all in the only way that he can do. If you haven't seen it, it's a documentary, SPW Chronicles. It's on YouTube. It's an incredible watch. You need to see it. In my opinion, Tyler isn't just responsible for SPW's success. He helped raise the bar for professional wrestling across the entire country. Promotions up and down New Zealand had to take notice, step up, and match what we were doing down south. Before I bring him up here, I realised that no amount of words or forced compliments from me could ever do this man justice. I thought the only thing that could possibly do him justice is a video edited by Tyler himself. So we're going to put on one of my absolute favourite highlight packages he put together at the end of an incredible 2019. I hope it brings back some memories for you guys. It gives us all a laugh before he comes up and joins me on stage and accepts the award. Woo.
Gears turning, ignorance can't attack. going past. No gloves, but you can't get enough. Make a fine parade so the public sways in your way. Just thought that I would go to the money car. I never wanted to fake it. Now I can't stop till everyone who ever done me wrong knows I'm not willing to take it. Boy, you got a hard time bring yourself to glory. You got a hard time bring yourself to glory. Guidelines, but I think that I might be there soon. I owe it all to you, and all to you. Hey, I was never looking for fame or the limelight, but I think that I might be there soon. I owe it all to you. I had to learn all alone, so now every play my chance upon it, put the fire on. I keep my wheels in motion. Boy, you had a hard time, bring yourself to glory. I never wanted my name up in bright lights, but I think that I might be there soon. I owe it all to you. Bring yourself to glory. You have a hard time. Bring yourself to glory. Oh, you have a hard time. Bring yourself to glory. It's no spoils before that you ask for.
Together. Tyler, we owe it all to you, mate. Introducing the King of Kings, Tyler King!
Traitor lost both his name and his face. Through the halls and the corridors, sticking in blood. He tasted his grin, and it tasted good. took his head, left him broken and dead.
Tyler's long hours and legitimate. Oh, hang on, that's Mark's speech. Thank you so much. It's really an honour. Yeah, it's a crazy honour, not just to be inducted, but to be inducted in 2026 alongside Hammer. And of course, Stephanie McMahon. Sorry, there might be some deep cut wrestling references that might go over a few heads, but David Dunn will appreciate all of them. When it was first announced on social media that I was going to be inducted into the SPW Hall of Fame, the overwhelming sentiment seemed to be like, good on SPW for acknowledging those behind the scenes as well as the wrestlers. But I take exception to that. As you just saw, Professor Palmer can tell you all about the King's elbow. Beyond that though, if anybody bothered to dig a little deeper, the facts are out there. In fact, on that post on Facebook that announced me in the Hall of Fame, down the bottom there's a little box that popped up. A little automatically generated question based on the content, and it said, what is Tyler King's wrestling background? And if you tap on that, you'd get your answer. So, let me enlighten you, courtesy of Meta AI. Tyler King is a professional wrestler. And mixed martial artist. With a robust background in various wrestling promotions. His experience behind the scenes, as seen in his work with SPW, complements his in-ring career. He was trained by Danny Jackpot, Ken Shamrock, and Bass Rutten. Notable matches and feuds. King had a phenomenal match against Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam, but lost. Various high-profile matches against CM Punk, including a WWE Championship match at Survivor Series. King also had a notable feud with The Big Show in New NAW. Listen, with a resume like that, you should be inducting me twice. But enough about my in-ring career. I do want to just talk quickly about how I came to be involved in SPW in the first place. I had just become involved in the local wrestling scene in Christchurch in 2015. SPW would have been well underway. SPW would have been well underway in the planning stages, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. But the first show that I ever worked on was the second show by Christchurch's Aftershock Pro Wrestling. Conflagration. I love that name. It's such a good name for a show. But the first match on that show, as fate would have it, was the Hooligan Marcus Cool versus Powerhouse T-Rex. Funnily enough, I actually completely lost the footage for that. I was copying the SD card at intermission and I accidentally deleted it and just lost the whole first half of that show. So that was a great start, and you know, but I could only go up from there, so it was all good. One other quick note on that, I was kind of planning on keeping the wrestling thing to myself, you know, sort of weird little nerdy thing that I was doing on the side, didn't need to make it too public. I go into work on Monday morning and my boss goes, "How was the wrestling?" Because of course my boss, who has no interest in wrestling, bought a front row seat to APW Conflagration at Papanui High School. Why wouldn't he? So anyway, I continued to be involved with APW in Christchurch for the next few months, and during that time a little bit of buzz started to build online about SPW and the show that they were going to be putting on in Invercargill. And I vividly remember the night of that first show in this very room, but I was not here, I was at my home in Christchurch, and I remember seeing the updates come through on social media and seeing the show and seeing that this very room was packed wall to wall with wrestling fans, and just how amazing it looked, even with the weird white curtain coming down from the ceiling. There was just something about it, and it looked amazing, and I thought, that is where I needed to be. So once Mark and Troy had seen some of my work from the shows where I hadn't deleted all the footage, they invited me to come down to that Queenstown Ice Arena show in November of 2015, and I was just brought down to do a behind-the-scenes documentary actually, but so that's what I did. But as mentioned, they needed some help with the commentary, and they also found themselves short on a camera person, so I ended up, as Mark said, wearing a few hats that night, and I guess that sort of became a bit of an omen of things to come with my time in SPW, because I certainly wear a few hats over the years. But one more thing I did want to mention about those very early days of SPW is because I had done a few months of camera work and production work in the wrestling scene in Christchurch, I had kind of seen this evolution of, from the first few shows, they had to rely on outside talent to fill up the cards. So they had, your Auckland, Wellington wrestlers, guys with a bit more experience, like James Shaw's, Charlie Roberts, Rough Guts, those kind of guys. And then eventually the local trainees come up. And just because of the nature of it, obviously guys that are just starting out, having their first match, the quality is not always there at the beginning. And so the overall quality of the show is no offense to anybody, but it would just kind of dip. And I was terrified that the same thing was going to happen to SPW, because we had this cool thing going in the first couple of shows. You had obviously Hooligan, but you had guys like Kingy, Vinny, Slade Mercer, and like James Shaw, Charlie Roberts, guys that were a bit more seasoned, carrying the shows. I was worried that, having Christchurch as my only frame of reference, I was worried that quality was going to dip. But I've never been more glad to be more wrong in my life, because once I saw the four pillars, if I could borrow a wrestling cliche, deadly sins, willpower, and hammer, that is when SPW really came into its own and created this brand and this identity that really sets it apart from everyone else. And if you go back to that documentary in 2016, without you four guys in it, the story is just Mark and Troy put on some wrestling shows, which is great. But I think it's really you four guys, like people around the world watching that, they could see themselves in you, and that's what really resonated with people. And I think that is what took SPW to the next level. One thing that I always appreciated about my time in SPW is I always felt like I was part of a team. If you're in SPW, you are part of a team, and I think, as I said before about wearing many hats, that's kind of meant that I've been a part of a lot of different sort of mini teams within SPW, the commentary team, production team, booking team, camera team. So I just wanted to go through and kind of acknowledge some of the people within those teams that have kind of helped me, help you make SPW as special as it is. So the camera crew has kind of been the biggest rotating door over the years. Kind of pretty difficult to lock in a consistent team with that. But in the early years when I was on camera at ringside, I always felt most at ease when standing across from me on the other side. I had either Johnny James, Ryan McMahon, or Michael Numiere. Those guys were super reliable, and I could always count on them to capture the action in the way that I would, or if not better. So those guys were amazing. We also had a lot of SIT students over the years, and that kind of brought an interesting skill that I had to develop, which is explaining wrestling tropes to people with just no idea what the hell we were doing. Because a lot of them just weren't wrestling fans, but they were good at operating cameras. And so we had Team Matt there for a while, which was Matt Butler and Matt Wilmshurst. And those guys came in. I was super proud of those guys and how they ended up going, because when they first came in, they just didn't really, weren't familiar with the wrestling world, and I had to kind of step them through the script and every kind of detail and how it was all going to work. And then by the end of it, they learned the characters, they learned how it all works, they learned where they needed to be, and they just got really good. And they ended up being the ringside team there for the ILT Stadium show in 2019, the TVNZ one. So I was really proud of them for that. And yeah, those guys were great. And then of course, two people that do not have that issue of being unfamiliar with wrestling would be Ben and Waiheke. You guys are both absolute legends, super easy to work with, and you've just both taken the role and run with it, and I'm super proud of you both. And also a special shout out to Waiheke, just the stuff that he does, the way he presents his footage, the fan perspective. I think it's just really awesome, and I think that a lot of people, I think it's really helped SPW's growth online. So yeah, shout out Wai. When it comes to the commentary team, I never really saw myself as a commentator, but Marc kept pestering me until I eventually gave it a go at a fight nights one night and had a blast, so I kept doing it. But all I really have to say here is thank God for David Dunn. He can actually work with anyone and make them sound half decent. I don't think anyone really appreciates how hard David works, the amount of research he puts in, the amount of work he puts in, the amount of notes he makes. He's been doing commentary and announcing for a long time. He's, I believe, far and away the best in the country, and he's still out there trying to improve, takes online workshops, looks for any kind of new tidbit of information he can give, and he's not shy about sharing that knowledge. So I just want to say thank you, David, for being amazing. Thank you for your professionalism and guidance, and I really had a blast calling all those shows, and I hope we can do some more.
David Dunn.
And when it comes to the booking team or the management team, that's again something I didn't really see for myself, but Marc and Troy saw something in me and welcomed me in, so thank you for that. That was certainly a fun challenge, and I think we created some really special moments, like you said, and I think we made a really good team. I think the three of us really complemented each other really well, and one of my favourite moments from being a part of that actually came when we went to Wellington for the Sparta conference. So that was a film and TV conference held annually, and this was after the success of the first ILT Stadium show, and we were kind of trying to figure out what our next steps were, and so we figured we would take a gamble and go up to this conference, and they had this pitching competition where you would go up on stage and pitch your ideas for a TV show or a film or a web series or what have you. And so we kind of got together. I think it was only like the night before we got together to kind of sort our shit out, and we had it all planned out, who's going to say what and everything. And then when we finally got up there and did it, there came a point where it was my turn to speak, and I just completely forgot what I needed to say, and I froze. But I reckon it had to be only about a second, and Marc jumped right in there. He knew exactly what my line was. He just took it and ran with it, and it went off without a hitch, and I don't think anyone would have known any different. And I think that's a great example. Like, I just thought, man, he really had my back. And I think that we always had each other's backs, and we just, yeah, that's what I mean when I say just, we really made a great team. We didn't win that pitch competition. We were no match for Kiwis Can Fly.
We fucking were.
But we did impress enough people in the room, and the head of TVNZ came over to us and wanted to make a deal. So that was how the TVNZ stuff came to be. So yeah, that was a big highlight for me. And then the other hat that I wore for my whole time at SPW was the solo editing hat. I don't know how I used to do it, to be honest, because I would just do my day job all day, which for those who don't know is sitting in front of a computer editing TV shows, and then I'd come home and I'd just do more of it. But I loved every minute of it. I loved creating the intro videos, the hype videos, like the video you just saw before. Absolutely loved it. That is what drew me into wanting to become an editor in the first place, is watching those kind of videos from WWE when I was a kid. So yeah, I just loved being able to do that. And I like to think that the New Zealand scene, as Mark mentioned, maybe hadn't done a whole lot of that stuff before I came along, and I'm stoked to see Ray carrying on that legacy of awesome content and awesome intro packages and hype packages now that I've stopped. And just a real quick shout out to Ray, who I think has been SPW's secret weapon this whole time. A lot of the videos I made wouldn't have been what they are without his amazing promos, hero shots, commentary, sound bites. He's another guy who can do it all, and yeah, shout out Ray. I just got a few other kind of thank yous that I want to run through. I'd like to thank Adam Willis. He used to wrestle as Devon Lockhart. He was in the best Southern Rumble match of all time in 2017. But he's my best friend. We grew up watching wrestling together, and I don't think I would have ended up getting involved in wrestling if we hadn't had that shared bond and that shared enjoyment of it when I was growing up. So thank you, Adam. I'd like to thank my parents for allowing me to watch a shit ton of wrestling when I was a kid, and for spending God knows how much on WWE pay-per-views on Sky Box Office. So thank you, Mum and Dad. A big thank you to Anthony from Anthony's Taxis in Balclusa. I literally would not be here on the stage without you. I would like to thank Angela. Thank you for putting up with all the wrestling nonsense over the years, and thank you for all your support, and thank you for coming down and being here with me. I love you. Thank you. I would also like to thank the Crosbys for always looking after me when I come down and giving me a place to stay. And I suppose I should thank the Hooligan. No, thank you, Mark, for always believing in me, for your friendship, and for being an absolute straw. Lastly, I just want to go over 3 things that I am super proud of that we accomplished in SPW during my time. And excuse me while I go into full promo mode for this one. Because these are things that nobody else in this country has ever done or will ever do. Yes! Number 1, SPW On Demand. We had an app. Was it the best app? No, but that's not the point. We had an app, and nobody else has ever had an app or will have an app in New Zealand wrestling. We had an app with consistency. SPW has a show, it's going to be edited, it's going to be uploaded with multiple cameras, with commentary, with good production value a few days after it happens. That is consistency that nobody else can match. Number 2, TVNZ. As Mark mentioned, we had a 3-part series, we had a full show in 2019 on TVNZ, and people say, yeah, but did you know that KPW was on Prime? Yes. Did you know that IPW was on Māori TV? Yes, yes. Congratulations to them, but we were on TVNZ. We were the first New Zealand produced professional wrestling show on TVNZ since On the Bloody Mat. And nobody is going to do that again. Number 3, ILT Stadium. 1,200 people twice. No one's topping it. And I swear every couple of years someone comes along and they are going to put on the biggest show in wrestling history. We had a couple of them last year, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody. 900 is great, but you can't draw 900 and then claim it was the biggest show in New Zealand wrestling history. If it wasn't 1,200, I don't want to hear about it. SPW On Demand. TVNZ. ILT Stadium. Top it if you can, but I don't think you can, because we are SPW and we are wrestling on the edge of the world.
Spell his name and his face.